Whole household, April 4th, 5th, 2012, 13, Tom Hold, Tam Hold, main event. Go.
There was an old man named Wallace P. Flynn who lived in a house in the trees. You could smell him for several miles downwind because of his fondness for cheese. For the cheese that was dear to WP was not the mild kind such as Brie, the cheese of polite society, no. He liked the cheese that was in your face, that stank like socks from a marathon race, cheese that really smelled up the place. Parmesan, Velveeta, Cheddar Swiss, Romano, Roquefort, and damn Gouda.
There was once a girl bird named Gertrude McFuzz, and she had the smallest plain tail ever was. One droopy droop feather, that's all that she had. No, that one feather made Gertrude so sad. But there was another young girl bird that she knew, a fancy young birdie named Lola Lee Lou. And instead of just one feather behind, she had two. Poor Gertrude, whenever she happened to spy Miss Lola Lee Lou flying by in the sky. Well, this just isn't fair. I have one, she has two. I simply must have a tail like Lola Lee Lou. In the immortal words of Dr. Seuss, you are you. Now isn't that pleasant? In life, oppression can come from anywhere. Victims must learn to get over their fears and be themselves, whatever that may entail. Long-Haired Boy, and other poems by various authors. A program about accepting yourself, and the hair is an extension of the self. The last day of school term, the end of term pop quiz. I was the Zen master like Cain out of Kung Fu, but with more hair. That was my moment, my achievement. A little piece of fortune and glory that I wore around my neck like a badge of honor. This kid did good. Sometimes people would think I was unsociable, like I was having some sort of private cosmic joke and they were not included. Why be just a man when you could be a universal man, said the teacher to the irrepressible young student before him. I wasn't thinking that I was better than them or anything, I was just socially awkward. Do I qualify? I heard that they wanted to abolish the N-word, but I am the N-word is me, or I am he. I am that nerd. I am that nerd. I am that nerd that cool passed up in high school, left standing the walls of dances, snap my fingers, music, hats, ladies, dance? No? Okay, that's cool. Dance? Hell no. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'm so good. I'm so good. I am that nerd.
Said Wallace P., it's offensive to you, but cheese cheers me up when I am blue. I don't know why, but a nice sharp cheddar makes me feel a whole lot better. His son said, cheese makes your breath so bad it smells like death to be near you, dad. A Limburger or a Montaler makes me grin and jump and holler, and oh, the pleasure of a slice of Cheshire. Some men want fame and their name on marquees. Some men love money. I choose cheese.
So she flew to her uncle, a doctor named Dake, whose office was high on a tree by the lake. And she cried, Uncle Doctor, oh please do you know some kind of a pill that will make my tail grow? Tut, tut, said the doctor, such talk are absurd. Your tail is just right for your kind of a bird. Then Gertrude had tantrums. She raised such a din that finally her uncle, the doctor, gave in. And he told her just where she could find such a pill, on a pillberry vine, on the top of a hill. Oh, thank you, cried Gertrude McFuzz, and she flew right straight to the hill where the pillberry grew. I'm that nerd that never scored a touchdown for the winning team, but was an English class MVP. Report cards look like Duracell batteries. Triple A's. Standing on top of my desk with 100% of my testing on out. Who won it with me? I'm Oscar Wilde the Nut Rob. You can't defrost me. I'm still going Jane Austen out this making James your Joyce. Get off my Dickens, son. I am that nerd. My pocket protector stays strapped. What you need? Ruler, calculator, eraser, pen,
Cornish pepper, cottage cheese, lied in. Wallace P. Flynn drove his load of cheese back to his lonely house in the trees. To him it smelled like fresh spring blooms. Sweet and pure and good and rich, while other drivers swerved into the ditch, overcome by deadly fumes.
Why be just a man when you can be a universal man? My curiosity takes me to unknown places, to the places that lurk in the back of the mind. I would hate to know everything. I feel it's what we don't know that defines us. Mankind just doesn't have the capacity for universal knowledge. So the very idea of the universal man is null and void. We learn every day, and personally, I know more now than I ever did before. Do I qualify? Yes, there was the vine, and as soon as she saw it, she plucked off a berry and started to gnaw it. Then she felt something happen. She felt a small twitch. as if she'd been tapped down behind by a switch. And Gertrude looked round and she cheered. It was true. 2 feathers, exactly like Lola Lulu.
Well, when Lola sees this beautiful stuff, why, she'll fall right flat down on her face, sure enough. Why, I'll show her who's pretty, I certainly will. Why, I'll make myself even prettier still. She snatched at those berries that grew on that vine. Why, she gobbled down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The feathers popped out with a zang, with a zing. They blossomed like feathers that bloom in the spring. And now, giggled Gertrude, the next thing to do is to fly straight back home and show Lola Lulu. And when Lola sees these, why, her face will get red, she'll let out a scream, and she'll fall right down dead.
Then she spread out her wings to take off from the ground, but with all of those feathers, she weighed 90 pounds. She yanked and she pulled and she let out a squawk, but that bird couldn't fly, couldn't run, couldn't walk.
There were stories in the papers about the terrible vapors. Despite neighbors' pleas, Flynn still chomps on cheese. It bubbled and bubbled and smelled like dead fish that cried, "By George, it smells delicious." The neighbors called the cheese police, who ordered Wallace P. Flynn to cease. The captain ordered the men to load their guns with butterscotch custard and sticky buns. They fired once and again, bang, bang. And then a blast of lemon meringue. And out of the house came a pitiful cry. "Stop the custard, please no more. The smell of lemon makes me gag." And old man Flynn came out the door. Eventually, his case was tried in court by Chief Judge Jacqueline Hyde. That old cheesehead broke down and cried. "I do relinquish and forswear all cheese, including Camembert, Colby, and even my Monterey Jack gift pack from my aunts in Wisconsin. I never again will face a smear cast. From now on, this shall be my gola, life or zero, Gorgonzola." The judge said, "Mr. Flynn, your no cheese pledge is all we need. Now go. You're free." Taking a Louisville slugger to both controllers will sing you maybe next time he'll think before he's a cheat code on me. Yes, that nerd is me, that nerd is me. Therefore entitled to be the geek with the vast knowledge of manga. Animes and comic books and sleeves are the foundations of our culture. Thus, in the name of Harry Potter, Goku, Gohan, Naruto, Thundercats, Thundercats, Thundercats! There was a boy in our town with long hair. I mean really long hair. And everybody pointed at him, and laughed at him, and made fun of him, and when he walked down the street, the people would roar and stick their tongues out and make funny faces and run in and slam the door and shout at him from the window till he couldn't stand it anymore. So he sat down, he cried till his whole body shook. Pretty soon, his hair shook too. And it flapped and flapped, and he lifted and flew. With the wind in his hair and the sun in his eyes, we saw him swoop and bank and rise, sort of crying and looking down at all of us here on the ground, until a tiny speck of sun was all we could see of him. Then, he was gone. And all through that night she was stuck on that hill, and Gertrude McFuzz might be stuck up there still. If her good Uncle Dake hadn't heard the girl yelp, he came to her rescue and brought along help. To lift Gertrude up almost broke all their beaks. To fly her back home it took almost 2 weeks. And it took almost another week more to pull out all of those feathers. My, Gertrude was sore. And finally, when all of the pulling was done, Gertrude, again behind her, had just one. That one little feather she had as a starter. But now that's enough, because now she is smarter. Why be just a man when you can be a universal man? I read books, I traveled, I learned through people and places, I lived through their eyes and their experiences. Why would I want to be a polymath? Why would I want to be a universal man when I could just be a man? I defy that statement, because just being a man is good enough. He wrapped up his cheese in a burlap sack and buried it deep in a hole out back and covered it up and put it in a pipe so he could smell when the cheese got ripe. And when it began to gurgle and squish and bubble and burble and smell like dead fish, the smell was so awful, so sour, so vile, the skunks had to go and lay down for a while. And Mr. and Mrs. Wallace P. Flynn felt right at home by the ocean side, and were very deeply satisfied with sunny days and beautiful views, and a low-fat lunch and a daily snooze. Live long and prosper, bitches.
That is good. That is good.
It's a lot of practice.